As polls opened, the people lined up. Around 4 million have registered to vote in Hong Kong's district council elections. After months of citywide unrest, the people want their voices heard.
I'm just after university graduation, and I think the teenagers' power, especially nowadays in Hong Kong, is very important. And if we want the change, we have to vote.
We can have different opinions, isn't it? But it's important for you to show what you want.
Candidates will face off in 18 districts, with 452 seats up for grabs. Pro-Beijing parties currently hold the majority in district councils, but anger against the government could erode their support. For the first time, the pro-democracy camp has candidates running in every seat.
Past few months, I can't sleep. The young people just want to ask for justice, want the government to give them the chance to live better. It's very simple requirement.
Pro-democracy activist Joshua Wong was disqualified for running in this election. He cast his ballot, urging others to do the same.
If they urge to stop police brutality, call on free election, it's time for them to vote. Every vote counts. Vote when we still have election.
Police have been deployed to monitor the polling booths. After months of violent clashes, the city's leader has called for calm on Sunday's vote.
We are facing an extremely challenging situation in organising this year's elections, but I'm pleased to say that with the concerted efforts of all parties, including, of course, over 30,000 civil servants and many departments working today, we should have a relatively peaceful and calm environment to conduct these elections successfully.
The pro-establishment camp may bear the brunt of public anger, but analysts say it's unlikely the pro-democracy parties will secure a majority.
I expect the Democrats maybe get a number of extra seats, but it will be very difficult for them to really get an overall majority.
The district elections are normally a low-key affair, with campaigns focusing on local issues like garbage collection and bus routes. But it's the only election in Hong Kong which is decided by direct suffrage, and a small group of district councillors play a crucial role sitting on an election committee which chooses the city's next leader. The protests were initially triggered by opposition to an extradition bill, which would have allowed fugitives in Hong Kong to be sent to the mainland for trial. But it's now a wider anti-government movement opposed to China's tightening grip on the former British colony. After months of often violent clashes, the city's 30,000-strong police force is on duty for the first time in the history of district elections. Whatever the result of this one, it's unlikely to stop further unrest.
Right, let's go live now to Sarah. And Sarah, so this record number of people who've registered to vote in these hitherto pretty dull local elections presumably are coming from the ranks of the young, those who have sympathies for the pro-democracy movement and indeed might have been out on the streets in the demonstrations.
That's certainly the indication so far. In the latest figures, we now have 1.7 million who've cast their ballots at Sunday's district election. So, as you mentioned, 4.1 million people have registered to vote. That's a record number registering. And the 18 to 35-year-old age group, that's the area, that's the group where we've seen the biggest increase. So certainly you'd imagine that the number of new people coming to the ballot actually putting their voice down. These people want their voices heard, and the huge lines we're seeing at these polling stations are an indication of how many people are coming out to vote. Now, we still have about 6.5 hours left for these polling stations to stay open, and we expect those big numbers to continue.
Right. Now, if there is a significant increase in terms of the pro-democracy vote, what sort of power would it allow for that contingent in these district councils?
Well, the analysts we've been speaking to indicate that the pro-establishment still has the majority in the current district council layout, but even if the pro-democracy groups do secure more support and win more seats, they believe that they're unlikely to take over that majority simply because the pro-establishment camp has such huge numbers in these district council elections. But this particular vote, this election, is considered also a barometer or a test for the public support for these ongoing protests, which, as you mentioned, have been going on for months now. And they're not just the weekend protests anymore, they're weekday. We're seeing massive transport chaos across the city city where the transport systems have been paralysed. So people will be looking to see whether or not there's still public support for those protesters and if there'll be further unrest as a result.
All right, Sarah, thank you very much. Sarah Clarke there, live in Hong Kong. Right.